It's the witching hour, Podsters. We are 2 weeks before the Christmas holiday, which, regardless of what you celebrate, all of them are happening around the same time this year, which is pretty fantastic. And at the same time, this is the time that we start to let our boundaries slip. We start to overcommit ourselves. We start to feel a little bit of stress or a lot of bit of stress. We become overwhelmed. Some of us become resentful, and we get on this hamster wheel that does not stop until mid-January for most of us. So here's what's up. Life doesn't have to be like this. December doesn't have to be like this. And I have the 3 golden keys, for how you truly can avoid overwhelm, manage your energy, and really just enjoy the holiday season. How does that sound? Like a game changer? Yeah, it does, because it is. So buckle up, Podsters. It is ridiculous how easy these 3 steps are. You're going to learn them, you're going to do them, and then your life is going to change forever. Let's do it.
Are you ready to speak up, stand out, and get your seat at the table? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to Unmute Yourself, the podcast where you'll get real-life anecdotes and actionable tools for you to step into your strengths, debunk imposter syndrome, truly know your worth, and show up like you own the room every time. I'm your host, Nancy Medoff, who did the thing and followed my passion for empowering women like you to unleash that inner spark and become who you know you are meant to be. I'm a diehard foodie with a raging Skittles habit who will not stop until women everywhere unmute themselves and truly thrive at work, at home, or wherever you may be. Let's do this.
Podsters, when you look up bootstrap, like we're bootstrapping this in the dictionary, that is what is happening today. So first of all, I'm on a borrowed computer. Second of all, my microphone wasn't working. Third of all, I'm on like a janky Zoom, I don't know, whatever. Fourth of all, I just hooked up a printer to print out my notes. By the way, do you ever feel like it's like a victory when you hook up a printer? And for those of you who have been here a while, which is a lot of you, do you remember we used to get these discs? We used to get these discs, and you would have to install these giant like CD discs in your computer in order to install your printer. Now you just click on the Wi-Fi. It says, is this the one you want? You say yes, then you're off. Anyway, I'm here. And the reason why we're bootstrapping this is because you're listening to this exactly 2 weeks before Christmas. And we are in that twilight tipping point area where we decide how we're going to approach the holidays. So we're not really in the holiday madness yet. We're about to approach the let's circle back on that next year, which is one of my favorite expressions in the world. You're going to start seeing memes about that any second. Well, you've probably already seen them. I'm recording this about a week before. Anyway, so we're kind of approaching that. We have 2 weeks left till Christmas. Most people aren't too stressed out yet. You aren't like under the gun at work if you're doing closeout, if you're in sales, if your year ends in the end of December. So you still have a little grace period. And as you know, we are all about grace here at Unmute Yourself, the podcast. So what I want to talk to you about is how to really approach the holidays. And I think this is possible without being stressed out. Okay. Definitely without being overwhelmed, and borderline without being stressed out. By the way, another fun fact, we're bootstrapping it. I don't have a mouse, and I'm old school. I don't like these little track wheels and the little pads. I hate those. And I can't get this one little box to go down. But anyway, so what I want to talk to you about is how to really go through the holidays without being overwhelmed. Usually I would say how to thrive in the holidays, because you know we're all about thriving here. And I think that's a little disingenuous. Well, it's not disingenuous. I think it could be perceived as disingenuous. I think it's difficult to wash off all of the expectations and really just experience pure joy during the holidays. And if you have done that, if you're a podster out there and you've done that, please send me an email, a note, something on Instagram, however you want to reach me, and tell me how you've done it. I do think we can leverage as much joy as possible. I think that we can make sure we're not too stressed out. I think that the idyllic It's a Wonderful Life version of approaching the holidays, if you think about what Jimmy Stewart went through in that movie, and if you haven't seen that movie, I don't know. I really don't love it. I might be one of the only people in the world that doesn't love it, but it tells a great story about the holiday season. Anyway, so here we are. We are 2 weeks before the holidays, and I was on a plane a few days ago, and I was looking through the different things that you could watch on the plane. And I really wasn't really into it, but I really didn't want to read my Kindle, and I didn't love the magazine I had. I definitely didn't want to do any work. That's something that I changed a long time ago. I try not to work too much on planes anymore. I'm going to pause and talk about that for a second. So if you travel a lot for work, and I've talked about this before, so in my previous life, I would get on the plane. The minute I can open my laptop, I would bang out a whole bunch of work. I would work the whole flight. I would get off the plane. The minute I got in the cab, I would hook up my Wi-Fi. So it used to be a little portable Wi-Fi thing you used to bring with you. I would hook that up. I would send it out in the cab going to wherever I was going. Then I would get to my meeting. I would have my meetings. I would go back to my room. I'd send a few quick emails. I'd go to whatever event I had to go to. I'd come back from the event. I'd check my emails again. And then a long time ago, I said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. And I know I've talked about this on here before. I had a boss that we were on our way to New York on the train, and he was watching a movie. I go, what are you doing? He said, I'm watching a movie. I said, you're watching a movie? He said, yeah. I'm like, you're watching a movie. You have 4 uninterrupted hours on the train. We're going into back-to-back client meetings, and you're watching a movie. He's like, yeah. And I thought, good for you, pal, right? Good for you. So I decided not to work. I don't think I've worked on a plane since. My point is, I wasn't going to pull out my computer and work. And try that. I encourage you to try that, because I always used to think, oh, I'm getting ahead so that when I get home, I can be fully present for my family and, my life. And no, that didn't happen. I would get off the plane. I would log in when I got home. And then I would, you're just working more. You're just working more. So try to relax on a plane. Anyway, so the whole point of this podcast is, we are talking about how to beat overwhelm. And I was on the plane, and one of the items that came up as something to watch was a Brené Brown. She's doing these series now, which I didn't know about. I'm very glad I found them. I think they might be on Cinemax. I'm not sure, because they were on this obscure channel on the plane. And if you follow Brené, she wrote a really great book called Atlas of the Heart, and she's drilling down on different themes from the book, and they're little 30-minute vignettes. And it's like a mini TEDx session. And it's great. It's like you're in the room with Brené and the crowd, and it's a very small crowd. Anyway, it's fantastic. So the topic was stress versus overwhelm, and how you speak about your emotions. And as you know, we firmly believe that words matter here over at Unmute Yourself. And you may recall that I'm pretty tough on, are you overwhelmed or are you overextended? There's a very big difference. And this kind of took that theme and really ran with it, or this was kind of like the grandmother of that theme. And I turned it on and I was mesmerized for 30 minutes. I took pictures with my phone of the slides she had up. It was an excellent, excellent, excellent episode. So here's what it talked about, and here's what it got me thinking about December and all of us. There's a big difference between stress and overwhelm. Most people don't recognize that, or they can't really articulate what the difference is. Like I know when I'm stressed, and then I know when I'm overwhelmed. It's a very different feeling. So stressed, according to Brené and her experts, is when your environmental demands are beyond our capacity to cope successfully. I'm going to repeat that. Environmental demands beyond our ability to cope successfully, we are overloaded. Okay? I don't know anybody who would disagree with that definition of stress. So I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, that's great, makes sense. Then she talked about overwhelm. Overwhelmed is an extreme level of stress, a emotion or a cognitive intensity to the point of feeling unable to function. So the key here is feeling unable to function. And she did a really good job explaining it. And for those of you that have been servers in restaurants, there's an expression, it's called in the weeds. It might be an American expression. So for those of you outside the US, hi, thanks for listening. We love it. Tell me what you want to hear about. And when you're a server or a waiter or a waitress in a restaurant, even a bartender, and you're in the weeds, it means the demand is beyond on your ability to cope successfully. You need help. So you can walk into the kitchen if you're a server and you can say, oh my gosh, I'm in the weeds. You can say, I'm in the weeds and here's what I need. And this is what Brene said. So I'm not taking credit for this. I'm in the weeds. I need rolls and butter on table 52. I need table 54 watered. And I need somebody to drop desserts at 56, right? You're like, I'm stressed. I'm in the weeds. Here's what I need. Great. Fantastic. Okay. People help you and you move on. Overwhelmed is when if you're a server, you walk into the kitchen, and I'm going to give you a real life example in a minute. And you say, I'm blown. I am just blown. You don't know what to tell people so that they can help you. You cannot really function. And I think that's really important. When you're overwhelmed, the intensity is such is that you can't function. And I'm going to give you an example from my personal life. So I love to entertain, and I entertain a lot. And Danny is my husband, for those of you that are new here. He's awesome around the house. He helps. He's great. And sometime, or every time before we have guests, I get stressed, like I just do, because I always think I have much more time than I do and whatever. So sometimes he'll say, okay, baby, what do you need? And I'll say, can you light the candles? Can you set the music? Can you set the lighting? And can you turn on the oven? Boom. If you can do that, you can help me. Great. So that gives him the ability to help me. That gives me the ability to move things off my plate and focus on what is a priority for me and what it is that only I can do. He can set the lights. He can light the candles. He can set the music. I'm the only one that can prepare the food. So it really helps me kind of outsource. There are also times when he'll walk up to me before we're having a party and he'll say, hey, baby, what can I do to help? And I will just say, I don't know. Just, you know what to do. Just please help me. I don't know. That's overwhelm. I've lost the ability to function. I've lost the ability in my brain to be able to say, here's what I need to do. Here's what's happening. Here's how someone can help me. So with overwhelm, our emotions are intense. This really hit home with me. Our focus on our emotions is moderate. You're not as focused on your emotions. You're not as clear on your emotions. You're like, I can't help. I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know how you can help me. I don't know. You can't function. So knowing this, what do we do with that information? Logical question. So what do we do now that we know that there's a difference between stressed and overwhelmed? I would, before we do that, add overextended. So overextended, the reason why I like overextended is because I'm overextended is factual. There is more on my plate than I can manage safely. Okay? I have committed myself beyond what I can do, period. Think about if you're overextended financially. Okay? Hopefully you're not. Maybe you are. If you are, you have committed yourself financially beyond what can be paid. So I'm overextended. I have spent the money. I cannot pay it. So if you think about overextended as not financial, it's just what's going on in your life. I have committed the energy and I don't have it. I have committed the resources. I don't have it. I've committed the time. I don't have it. Overextended is a fact. I am overextended. Overwhelmed is emotional. And it's emotional. It's a reaction to a perception. It's not good. Neither is overextended, but overwhelmed is, I don't like overwhelm. I don't like it. So what do we do, Podsters? I'm getting agitated just even thinking about it. I'm getting stressed out even thinking about it. Okay. So the first thing, then this is my first thing. This is not Brene. This is Nancy. I say, name it. Name what's happening. Are you stressed? Are you overwhelmed? Are you overextended? And there's a very big difference. So if you say to yourself, I'm stressed, okay, I'm stressed. I can function. If you say I'm overextended, I'm overextended. I can function, not where I want to function. Stress, I'm temporarily stressed. Overextended, okay, factually, this is not possible. So what am I going to do? Versus overwhelmed, where you just shut down. You're just blown. You just shut down. In my view, naming it is half the battle. Because if you're at the point of overwhelm, and I'm going to speak for myself, if I'm at the point where I say I am totally overwhelmed, I know I need to call a timeout. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, because I can't help myself. I'm so gone. I can't help myself. I can't help someone else help me. I am just cuckoo. I just can't. And that's a terrible, terrible feeling. So name it. And if you can name it before you get to overwhelmed, even better, because you can do something about it. All right. So here's what the experts say. When you are overwhelmed, so let's go back to that situation where, and I don't know if I got this granular, when Brene, you're a waitress, you're a waiter or a server, you go into the kitchen, you're totally overwhelmed. You just can't. No one can help you because you can't tell them how to help you. You can't function. You can't speak. You can't think. That's where somebody says, okay, go take a break, go take a 10-minute break, go outside, back to the dumpster, go in the alley, wherever, go to ladies' room, go take a break. We got you. We're going to handle it. Okay. So what I am going to do differently now moving forward is when I am overwhelmed, and it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, I don't like it. And what the experts say is when you're overwhelmed, do nothing. Sit in stillness for at least like 5 to 10 minutes. And again, this episode was excellent. She gives another example. Where if you can just sit and be still for 5 to 10 minutes, in my perspective, you blow up that algorithm, you disrupt the pattern, and you can just catch your breath and you come back and you're not overwhelmed anymore. You're stressed or you're overextended, which then you can manage. So it's stillness or sit in nothingness for as little as 10 minutes. So if and when this happens to me again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go shut the door and I'm going to sit and be still for 5 or 10 minutes. And I know that if I do that, I can come back and I can function. I'm going to tie this to the holidays in a second. So number 2, this is an old Weight Watchers trick. So for those of you who have been around a while, Weight Watchers is like a weight management system. And I remember this when I was in Weight Watchers many, many years ago. The holidays are a hard time for people who struggle with any kind of addiction. It could be alcohol. It could be drugs. It could be people pleasing. It could be the holidays is when like all bets are off. So one of the things that this person recommended we do is sit down with a calendar, write down all of your social commitments, and say no to some of them. Like write them all down and cancel at least one. What I suggest you do, because I've been doing this for years, I sit down, I write down all of my commitments or all my potential commitments. And what I'll do is in the beginning of the month, I'll say to people, that sounds like a lot of fun. Can I get back to you when I have a better idea of my schedule? Because what happens, Podsters, is when somebody invites you to something and it's Thanksgiving, you think, oh, great, December 19th, I'm going to have nothing going on. That's awesome. Can't wait. I'm going to be in the holiday season. Love it. I would love to spend the day making cookies with you all day. I would love to do that. That sounds like such a great way to celebrate the holidays. And then December 19th comes around and you haven't done all the things you need to do. It's now 6 days before Christmas. My mother's birthday is the 21st. I may or may not have gotten her the present yet. You might have holiday parties. It is much busier than we think it's going to be. So I try to pause with people and say, sounds great. Can I get back to you? Then I write everything down on my calendar and I will cancel 3 things. Or I will say no to 3 things. Again, it sounds great in the moment. Is it going to be as fun? And am I going to want to do it as much when the time comes to actually do it? And that we've talked about this before. And this time of the year is the perfect time to do that. So what I do is it's this simple. I go into Word, I click calendar, I create a December calendar, I print it out because I'm a paper and pen kind of person, and I write everything down. And when I see this visual of, okay, so for example, on December 16th, I have 3 meetings on the same day at the same time. I never would have done that. I'm in a role now where people can book into my calendar. That's a whole nother story. But I now know, but I know it ahead of time, okay, I'm not going to be able to do these three things all at once. So it's not like I'm waking up on the 16th and saying, I'm overcommitted. I have these three things. They're counting on me. I know now, and I can reach out to them and say, hey, listen, I can't be here for the whole meeting. I'd love to pop in for the first 30 minutes. Does that work for you? Yes. Or, hey, I know I committed to this luncheon. I can't stay for the whole time. I'd love to come and say hello to a few people. Does that work? Yes. So you map it all out and you cancel a few things and or you prioritize and or you let people know ahead of time. Here's something else I'll tell you, and we talked about this last year. If you've overcommitted and you cancel on someone or you say, hey, you know what, I overextended myself. Are you okay with maybe doing this in January? I guarantee you, whoever it is and whatever it is, they will say, that is awesome. Thank you. Yes, I would like to do that. And they will be so relieved that they get that time back. It happens every single time I do it. We talked about it last year. A lot of you said it worked great for you, so give that a try. So you write everything down on the calendar, cancel three things. Three, not one, not two, three. You have to cancel three things for this to work. Okay. So then the last thing you're going to do while you have that calendar out, by the way, however you do it, if you're an iPhone junkie or an Android, however you do it, that's fine too. The other thing you do is you are going to schedule time, and you're not going to schedule something specific. So a lot of people say schedule self-care time or schedule time to sit in a Himalayan salt cave. Fun fact, I'm actually doing that. I did schedule that because I like that. Anyway, just block some time, couple hours here or there. You're protecting your time. You don't have to, because if you block time and it's for something specific, well, then you're going to feel bad if you don't feel like doing it. So just block time, couple hours. Maybe it's 2 hours a day. Maybe it's 4 hours on a weekend. It doesn't matter. Just block some time so that you are not go, 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 and you have that cushion, and then you can use that time however you want. You want to go to the Himalayan salt cave? Go do that. You want to go get a facial? Go do that. You want to wrap presents? Do that. You want to bake cookies? Do that. But you have this block of time that you are protecting for you. You're protecting your energy. So that's the third thing. 1, sit in stillness for like 10 minutes. 2, map out the calendar and cancel 3 things. And then 3, block time for yourself. Here's what happens, Podsters, if you don't do this. If you don't do this, despite your best intention, you'll end up probably the week of Christmas, probably that week, and you'll be stressed. You may or may not resent some of your commitments, which, remember, at the time you were excited about it. So now you're not, and now you don't want to do it, and now you resent that you have to do it. You're going to impact your health, maybe your sleep, and you're not going to get to do the things that you love to do. So if you don't block that time for yourself, you're not going to be able to do the things that you love to do, not the only other demands. Then we hit January and it is game on. You all know what January is like, despite what we do. I am vigilant. The first week in January, nothing. I don't have any client calls. I don't have any speaking gigs. I will not do them because I know that my ritual is January 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. I take my laptop. It's cold. I live in Cape Cod. I go to this local coffee shop, which unfortunately closed down, so now I have to go to another one. I get a big cup of tea and I map out my year. And I've already started doing that, but that's my ritual. I love it. And I will not give that up for anybody. So if you don't take proactive measures now to avoid the overwhelm, you're going to experience it that week or in December, and it's going to roll on through to January. And who wants to live like that? You deserve better, Podsters. You deserve better. And that's my wish for you. So 3 things, right? We talked about it. First is stillness or nothingness, whatever. You can just sit in your car for 5 minutes. 2, map it out on a calendar, cancel 3 things. And 3, block time for yourself. Block it. Don't just say you're going to do. Block it however you block your time. So Podsters, that is my bootstrap episode for you today. Let me tell you what's happening in January over here on Unmute Yourself, the podcast. We are large and in charge over here. So I have a business strategist she's an expert in setting and achieving goals, how to set them, how to map them out, how to align the resources for them, and how to achieve them. She's the maverick in this. She's coming back. I have an organizing guru who's going to talk to us probably towards the end of the month. We all have these big ambitions for how to organize. She's going to help us actually execute and talk about some of the behaviors and some of the unrealistic expectations that we have. And I'm also going to bring back a wardrobe specialist who's going to talk to us about purging your closets and how to really set up your brand and how to use your style as your competitive advantage. And if you don't think you have a style, or if you want a style, this podcast is going to be great for you. A lot of us in January look to reinvent ourselves, and all three of these tie in perfectly to that. I'm so excited about this. I think it's going to be an epic month. So, Podsters, with that, I'm out. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did and you think it's valuable, share it. Take a screenshot, tag me on Insta, send it to your friends, whatever. Send a smoke signal. However you do it, share it. Share the love. With that, I love you, Podsters. I will see you next week, and peace out.
That's a wrap, Podsters. And before we go, I ask you, what's one thing from today's episode that you will use this week to unmute yourself? DM me, email me, send a smoke signal, whatever you need to do. Let me know what you're going to do differently. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone you know and leave a 5-star review on Apple. This helps me spread our message of empowerment to more people worldwide. Let's do this.